Hello there, and welcome to this session, solving tactics on chesstempo.com. I've actually already started my own little problem. This one is just to give you a little heads up. This one is 1800, 1900 mixed. Obviously, that's in the fucking it's in the video description, so I don't even need to say that, do I? Whoops. So I started this problem earlier, but then I got busy doing other stuff, and so queen takes b4. Rook takes f5. There's also queen b1 check, king f1. Or I'm sorry, queen b1 check, king h2. So my main line in this position from earlier in my calculation was knight g3. Knight g3 hitting the queen and keeping on the rook, and also hitting the rook on f8. But the problem with this is queen b1 check. So like knight g3, queen b1 check, king h2, rook takes f2, queen takes f2, threatening mate on f8. Queen g6 forced. Knight h5. Knight h5 threatening queen f8, queen g8, queen f6 check, queen g7, queen takes g7 mate. And of course, oh wait, no, I can't play. I can't play. I can't play knight g5 because of queen takes h5 with check. Knight g3, queen b1 check, king h2. If rook f2, queen takes check. The rook is here. Knight, queen. Or well, no, wait. Knight, rook. Knight, queen check, rook f1. Rook takes f1. Knight takes f1. Knight a6. Or knight takes a2. Queen f2. King g7. No, okay, so knight g3, queen b1 check, king h2. I'm still. There's also knight f1, but rook, queen g6 seems to be fine. Knight, queen check, knight, queen check, king h2. Rook takes f2 forced. Not forced. The rook could go anywhere, but then I would play rook takes b4. So yeah, rook takes f2 forced. Queen takes f2. King g8. Then I would have knight h5. But there's so many ways to defend this. Like, there's king g7. And if knight check, there's king g6. And that will stop my threats. Knight e7. Queen check, king h2. Knight h6 is also a move, maybe. Knight h6, queen check, king h2, rook f2, queen f2, queen g6, or king g7, queen check, king takes h6, queen check, king h5. No. So knight takes d6 was another move that I considered. Knight takes d6, queen check, king h2, rook f2, queen f2. Ooh. Ooh, okay. Wait, yeah, so wait, And now I'm on mates, so you can't take back on c6. Ooh, knight d6. Knight d6, queen b1. Knight d6, queen b1. If not queen b1, what else? What other moves are there? If rook f2, there's knight takes. Wait. There's rook f2, knight takes, rook takes d2, knight takes. And then all I've done is won a pawn, huh? Wait, no, there's knight takes, rook takes, queen f2, threatening mate. Queen g6, queen check, queen g8, queen g8, and then knight f7 mate. Knight d6, rook f2 doesn't work because of queen takes f2, threatening mate. Okay, so rook f2 is not a move. What else is a move? Queen b1 check. There's no knight moves because if pawn takes, then rook f8 check will be enough. Rook f8, king g7, queen f2 threatening mate. Alright, yeah, knight d6. Pawn takes, rook check, king g7, queen f2. Very nice. Knight d6 was one of the first moves I considered in this position when I was calculating earlier, but I ultimately dismissed it. But yeah, so there are a couple critical lines. Knight d6, rook f2. Now, if knight takes e, knight takes, knight takes, knight takes a, and you are 4, 5, 4, 6. You're down a pawn. You'll get your pawn back probably with knight f3. Yeah. What's the? So that's one line. That would be the way to misplay this line. So the key is rook f2, queen f2, and you're threatening queen f8 mate. If pawn takes, queen f8 mates. If queen d6, defending, there's queen f8, queen g8, and then knight f7 mate. What are the other points to this? The other point is queen b2 check, king h2. Now you need to stop rook f7. So let's say rook, queen. But this is just, again, the same thing. You can't take the piece, and you're getting mated. So the only way to stop mate is queen g6. I suppose there's king g7, but queen check, king, knight check will lose the queen. And if you go the other way, let's say queen g8, there's queen check, king h8, queen f8 mate. Trying to think of anything else. Any other major lines here? No, I think those are all the major lines. The queen b1 check line and the rook and the d takes line. Yeah. This problem. Oh, first of all, this is Topalov with the white pieces. I believe Topalov's the guy who wrote The Art of the Attack. Or is that Vukovic? I think Topalov wrote some famous book, but I can't be certain what it is. Most common mistake, knight g3. Yeah, which is the move that I was really trying to sell myself on. But queen b1 check, king h2, rook f2, queen g6. And there's nothing going on here. queen f3. The move that I really wanted to play here was knight h5, threatening queen f8 check, queen g8, queen f6, queen g7, and queen takes g7 mates. But unfortunately, this just doesn't work because of queen takes h5 check, which is rough, you know, that's brutal. Because that knight h5 is a real beautiful move. With the king on g1, this would work. But if you put their king on g1 first, queen b1 check is a bit of a hassle. Knight f1 is bad. Best is probably just king h2. After which, well, no, after which queen g6 would be a repetition. I think that was a really beautiful problem. Really, really beautiful. Oh man, I wanted to take a picture of it. Rook c8 is the natural move to play. Yeah. Rook c8, king g7, g8 check, king f8. What about rook c8, king g7, knight e8 check? Or knight h5 check? Rook c8, king g7, knight h5 check, king king g6, or king h7. King h7 I could just perpetual. But that, I mean, two rooks against a queen, two minors against the rook. It doesn't feel like this should be perpetual territory. This definitely should not be something that a perpetual is not something that I should be looking for here. There's knight g4. Knight g4 just hitting the h6 pawn. But I like this rook c8, king g7, knight h5 check, king g6, rook check, king takes h5. Or maybe just g4. Rook check, king king g7 forced, rook knight check, king g6, g4, threatening rook c4 check, king g5, rook check, king h4. Then there's rook c3 threatening the queen and mate. I don't think that's actually the line. Rook c8, king g7. First of all, I think it's actually knight e8 check and not knight h5. My spider sense is telling me to play knight e8 check. Rook c8, king g7, knight check. King h7 is the real test there. After which I would have rook c7. King g2. God, I'm tired. What about rook c8, king g7, rook c6? Threatening rook g8 mate. Rook c8, king g7 forced. Rook c6. And he needs to stop king g8 mate. Let's just check really quick. Rook f8, king f8, queen c1, queen a1, queen a1, king g2, no perpetual. No perpetual. So what happens if he runs? Rook c8. So rook takes f1, not working. Rook c8, king g7, rook c6, and rook f1, king f1, queen a1, king g2, h3 check, king h3, queen f1, king h4, queen a4 check, g4. And that's the end of the road. So rook c8, king g7, rook c6. If he runs, king g6. Run like a little bitch. King g6, there's g4. Again threatening rook g8 mate. And this will transpose. Rook f1 would transpose to the previous position. So rook c8, king, rook c6, takes, queen a1, king g2, check, king, check. Ooh, and he doesn't actually have. For some reason I was thinking queen a4. But yeah, this is it. That's the end of the road. So now king and g4. That's all she wrote. What a beautiful problem. Very, very beautiful. Very nice. Knight h5, most common mistake. Knight h5. Threatening rook h6. So king h7. And I wonder what the intention is. Maybe rook f6? I gotta be honest, I can't really tell you what's gonna be immediately losing there. I think that queen d3 puts in a good effort. Rook check, king g7. You don't have mates because I'll take on f7. So rook g7 check. Ah, yes, you do have mates. So rook g7 check. So rook check. If king h8, rook c8. So I guess I need to come out. And now g4 doesn't work in this position because I'll just take on f7. Okay. So this is the problem with this line, I suppose. I guess another problem with this line is just the more simplistic rook takes f1, no? If you play knight h5 is rook takes on a1 working, king takes, queen check, king g2, g3 check. Now in that position, check, and I'll take here. No. King h4, queen check, king h3. This is a perpetual. Although I suppose I suppose in this position you could play f4. Interesting position. There are probably better ways to play. I'm not certain that was a very good answer to that particular misplay. Three minors, two rooks. One minor, two rooks. Two choices, king g8, king e8. King g8, queen check. King g8, queen check. Knight g6. Queen takes g6 check. Queen g7. Because if king e8, then queen takes h8, king d7, and I lose the rook. But if I play king g8 instead, I can give up the knight. And king e8 is nothing. Queen. Oh wait, but is that? That's a perpetual. King g8, queen g5 check, king g6, queen takes g6 check. Wait, but then I would have king f7. Wait, but king f7, queen g6, and if here, then queen h8. So king g7, queen check, knight blocks, queen takes, queen here, and queen e8 check. And if queen f8, queen g6 again. Perpetual. So the best is to give up the rook, king e8. I didn't continue the line. Knight bc6 is the most natural move. If knight ec6, there's queen g7 check. So knight bc6. And yeah, knight bc6. There shouldn't be anything more. Grishuk with the black pieces here. Vukovic. I don't think this is Art of Attack book Vukovic. This is Vukovic with a CK. Vukovic, Art of Attack is KK. Just one K. Vukovic with a K. Interesting problem, yeah. The line goes queen check, king g8, queen check, knight, queen check, queen g6, and queen e8. You don't have the h7 square because the bishop on d3, so queen is forced, and this is a perpetual. White has invested too much material to continue the attack. These pawns kind of look scary, but you do have to understand there is a center to consider as well. And yeah, the only wrong move in this position is king g8, because you only have two choices, king g8 or king e8. Let's do the next one. Let's do just one more. Rook e7 is an idea. Rook e6 is an idea. Queen f7 is an idea. Bishop g7 right away is an idea. It's a stupid idea, but it's an idea. Rook e8, rook takes e8, rook takes e8, king h7, king h7, queen f7. Threatening queen g7 mate and queen takes g7 mate. That's it. Yeah, I believe that's the move. Rook e8, rook takes e8. There's queen f8, but queen f8, queen takes f8, king h7, queen h8, or queen g. There are literally three mate squares. There's h8, g8, and g7. So rook check. I bet even bishop g7 is working in that position. Rook e8, rook takes e8, forced rook e8, king h7, forced queen f8, queen f8, takes king h7, queen h8 mate. Rook e8, rook e8, rook e8, king h7, queen f7. Queen f7 and rook d1 is checkmate, yeah? So I need to figure out some other way to do it. Rook e8, rook e8, rook e8, king h7. Is rook d3 working? Man, I'd like to get this to work somehow, but I can't because of the back rank. The back rank just doesn't... I could play g3 first, but if g3 first, bishop f6 would solve the issue. Yeah, bishop g6. I'm sorry, g3, bishop f6, rook e8, rook e8, rook e8, check, king h7, and then if bishop f6, queen f6 or pawn f6. No, pawn f6, definitely pawn f6. You can't just leave the d5 rook hanging. Damn. So my other thought was rook d3, rook takes d3, queen takes a8, check. Queen d8, bishop d8. These are all defenses. Bishop e5. Queen f8. Queen takes d5. So bishop f5. Queen f7, rook f6, but then rook e8. Queen f7, queen f8, then queen takes d5. Queen f7, rook g7, rook e8. Queen f7, queen f7, queen f6, bishop takes f6, for fuck's sake. Queen f7, bishop f6, there's rook e8, queen f7, queen f7, king h7, queen takes g7, queen f7, queen d7, there's bishop takes g7 check, king h7, queen f7, queen d7, rook e8 check, rook takes e8, rook takes e8 check, king h7, no, wait, yeah, and then queen g7 mate. Okay, queen f7, queen f8, and then I just said queen e5, yeah? Or queen d5. I think my volume was a little bit low for that one. Also, I bet, oh, fuck, I'm so sorry. My volume's been all the way up this whole time. I bet you guys have been getting like clack, clack, clack going this whole time. I'm so sorry. Again, another really fascinating problem. Just these 1800 problems are really good. They're really, really something. That's all for this session. That's session number 94, and I had a very comfortable time. Yeah, that was a very comfortable one. Very comfortable session number number what? Number 94, 95. Really nice. Really nice. Anyway, thank you so much for being here with me tonight. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you learned as much as I did. I hope that you can sort of feel the energy that I feel when I solve these problems. I really, really enjoy it. So thank you so much for being here with me, and until the next time, the best of luck with your chess journey.